there's been a lot of Premier League football played recently, and of course the FA Cup, which no one really pays much attention to these days. But at the weekend, there was a fascinating Premier League programme, and we're joined now by John Giles to discuss the games. John, there's no doubt the game of the weekend, and maybe the game of the season so far, in terms of what we were anticipating, was Liverpool-Manchester United at Anfield. United on a good run. They haven't lost away from home for a year, according to a stat I heard, which surprised me. And of course, Liverpool hadn't scored for 2 games, and now they haven't scored for 3 games, and they've had a bad time playing teams around the bottom of the league. Newcastle United, West Brom got a point at Anfield. Newcastle United 0-0, didn't score. So Fulham, they scrambled a point at the end of the game. So they've had a bad time, John. Yeah. I thought, and Manchester United have been improving. I thought Liverpool would beat them yesterday. It was a fascinating game. Liverpool obviously dominated the ball, I thought, in the first 25 minutes. And maybe the final pass, or the finishing of Firmino in particular wasn't great. What did you make of the game overall?
Well, just reading the papers this morning, and what a terrible game it was.
No, I didn't think that.
I didn't see it that way at all.
No, yeah.
I thought it was a good game. It was no score, which we know. I thought Liverpool had a vast amount of possession of the ball, and again, you say Firmino didn't. He had probably two of the best chances for Liverpool, and he hasn't been doing it lately. I mean, Salah didn't get much of a chance. Mane we thought was dangerous, but United defended well. But Firmino had a couple of chances. But again, United at the front, Martial and Rashford were missing.
Yeah.
And one of the big disappointments on this day was Fernandes. He never got a kick at the ball.
No.
He looked like he was nervous to me. So although it was a no-score game, I thought it was a good game. I thought Liverpool shaded it. Although Pogba had probably the best chance of the game to finish it in the second half and didn't score it, and he was okay, no more than okay. But I thought it was a good game. There was lots of good stuff from both sides, and it's certainly a draw at the end. I think was a fair result.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the question for Liverpool, I suppose, Firmino, as you say, he hasn't been playing well recently. He's a superb footballer, but he doesn't get the goals you think he ought to get, and he does make a lot of goals. The front three for Liverpool, the interplay between them is magical. Hasn't been for a while. I thought Wan-Bissaka, who you put in your Premier League team of the season last year, really did a good job on Mane. I thought he was always threatening Mane. And by the way, the referee blew early at the end of the first half when Mane was clean through on goal. He blew 5 seconds early, but that's, these things happen. And from Salah didn't get a look in. I thought Shaw was superb for United, John.
Yeah, they defended well, United. I think what happens with, and it's happened for a while now, I mean, Salah plays up the middle, I think Liverpool are at their best when he's on the right side, so they can spread out a bit. And I think it doesn't help for Firmino at all. I mean, he used to be the one that was up the centre of the pitch, and I think he's finding it difficult to find a position to play in. Now, that doesn't stop him scoring the goals when he has chances to do it, which he had 2 good ones on Saturday. But I think for the balance of it, like with Liverpool being on top, I think they would have been better with the players wider. Sané did get wider on the left.
Yeah.
But Salah's definitely playing up front all the time, Eamon. And I think he'd been better off out on the right wing a little bit and leave a bit of space there. But anyway, it was, I enjoyed the game. I thought there was a lot of good football in it. Man U came in the second half. But he hasn't been scoring goals anyway, has he?
No.
For Manny, he hasn't really been scoring goals, and his confidence seems to have gone a little bit with the 2 chances that he had in the game that I saw anyway at the weekend.
Now, Liverpool injuries are very severe. Fabinho, I thought, was magnificent at the back yesterday. Henderson playing alongside him. So you got a makeshift back four with two midfield players in the centre, at the heart of the defence. And of course, two midfielders that really would be playing and would give Liverpool an awful lot more power and potency in midfield. So you lose. It's a lose-lose, isn't it, with injuries? But
I don't know if they're losing that much, Eamon, to be honest. I think the two lads at the back have done their job really well. I think Henderson and Firmino at the back have been excellent. Obviously, they're not as good as Van Dijk and whoever, like Gomez and those lads, but they haven't given anything away. They haven't made any mistakes. I think in the middle of the field, I think Thiago is definitely going to be a winner for them.
Yes.
Eamon. Wijnaldum plays anyway.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the team. So I don't think they're missing so much there. I think it's just the goal scoring situation. They definitely haven't been scoring the goals that you would expect them to score with the three lads playing. They're the main strikers. They're not missing anything out there.
No, I think they are missing. I strongly disagree with you. Henderson in midfield in the last 12 months has been powering forward, setting the tempo, making assists, scoring the odd goal. Fabinho also in midfield is a much more potent player. Wijnaldum, I think, would be the one to miss out. Now, Wijnaldum's a top player, don't get me wrong, but they do miss the drive in midfield that Henderson in particular presents. I don't agree with you at all about that.
Well, and I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you either.
No, well, that's good.
I mean, if they had the centre halves playing yesterday, who would they have in midfield?
They would have had Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago. That would have been the midfield. So
there's only one missing from that.
No.
From that was there yesterday.
I know.
Wijnaldum was in. Thiago was in.
Hold on, John. Fabinho and Henderson are two. And they would have been in midfield. They would have given that midfield more strength, more purpose. And Henderson in particular is a hugely important player. He can't do the job he normally does. And the job he did when Liverpool won the league and indeed the Champions League is driving the team forward from midfield. He can't do that if he's in the back four.
No, I know that, but I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Driving the far. I don't rate Henderson as much as you do.
No, you don't.
We disagree on that. I mean, that's the way you see him. I don't see him that way.
Okay.
At all.
Well, I
don't see him that way at all. I mean, they definitely missed the players who are out. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the two lads back. They've had a lot of injuries, and I think they've done extremely well.
Yes.
With what they have. There's no doubt about that. You can't be missing players like they're missing at the back, and a lot of matches to be played now where you can rest players in between. And
yes.
So they have suffered. There's no doubt. Liverpool have suffered with the injuries that they've had.
Alexander-Arnold at Southampton gave the ball away 38 times, which is the most any player in the Premier League this season has given the ball away. He had a poor game yesterday as well, in my view, on the ball. One great crossfield pass in the second half to Robertson, which almost ended up as a goal. It ended up as a chance. He doesn't look up for it. He doesn't look alert. Do you agree with that?
I think the stats in the Southampton match for him was exceptional, Eamon.
Yes, he's an outstanding forward, yeah.
Yeah, his distribution is brilliant.
Yes.
I don't think he's a good defender. I never ever thought he was a good defender.
Yeah.
But I think, for his stats on that particular match, I think he had a bad day. He was the cause of the goal.
He was, yeah.
But generally speaking, yesterday I thought his distribution was good. And it always is. That's why he's in the team. I don't ever think he's going to be a terrific defender, but going forward, he's been excellent. So I think the stats on the Southampton match would be a bit unfair on him.
Yes.
In the overall season.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you looked at him in isolation. Now, Manchester United, John, he made a big decision yesterday. He brought McTominay and Fred, who hadn't played at Sheffield, back into midfield. He pushed Pogba out wide, and indeed, Fernandes also played wider on the left than I've seen him play. Pogba, I didn't think before the game, I said it actually in my column in the Star, I didn't think he got a kick of the ball. He didn't get much of a kick of the ball, and he didn't do much for most of the time. But as you point out, he actually had United's best chance. But Alisson made two great saves, one from Fernandes, but the one from Pogba was superb.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I thought Pogba did okay. The biggest disappointment to me yesterday was Fernandes.
Yeah, he was. He just
looked
didn't
nervous. I don't know what it was. They took him off.
He didn't like that either.
And he didn't. He wasn't too keen on that. But I was really disappointed. I didn't think he influenced the game at all.
No.
That's the least influence I've seen him in the game for Manchester United, especially in recent times where he's been very, very, very good. I don't know what it was. Maybe the position he was in. But he normally influences a game. He gets on the ball, he chances, but he gets on the ball an awful lot. And I just didn't see him yesterday, apart from that chance that he had. I didn't really see him in the game, which was very, very surprising and disappointing in many ways, because when the top players like him, these are the matches that you expect him to influence. And I thought Pogba was more of an influence than he was yesterday.
Yeah, he was poor. But Lindelof played well, Maguire played well. Two fullbacks I thought were exceptional. And the Manchester United now top of the league. They're 37 points, and it goes back down to 6th, where Everton, with a game in hand, incidentally, have 32 points. It's a strange-looking league table. No established favourite, really, to win the Premier League. It could be any one of probably 3, City, Liverpool, United. City had a very easy and quite impressive 4-0 demolition of
they played well.
Of Crystal Palace.
I watched a tape the matches. They played real. And funny enough, with the teams doing what they're doing, actually, I think with a match in hand, they can go top of the table, can't they?
Yep. They have a match in hand.
Amazing. It's an amazing season in relation to, well, last season particularly, where Liverpool ran away with it. But this is a strange year with a lot of injuries, a lot of matches and that. And Leicester have crept into it, I wouldn't write them off either,
No, they had a good win against
Southampton. Not write anybody off in the way it is at the moment.
Right. Now, John, another game I know you watched was Spurs, Sheffield United. Sadly, Sheffield United look doomed. They've only got 5 points, which leaves them 11 points away from safety. And Chris Wilder done a fantastic job there, not just in getting them promoted last season. They were promoted another division, and he kept faith with the same players last season, and they did superbly well in the Premier League. Haven't been promoted the season before, I should say. It's very sad to see. It doesn't look like the board gave him any money to bring in players. So that's rather sad, and it's almost predictable, isn't it? The worst thing you can do if you're in the Championship is get promoted, because the bums are going to throw you out when it doesn't go so well.
Yeah, he's done an amazing job there. I think they were in the 3rd division when he went. And last year, I think around this time of the year, they were looking for a spot in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's very, very... And I don't think he's had a lot of injuries. I think he's got pretty much the same players as he had last year,
Yep.
So it's amazing. I think what happens a lot, my take on it, that there's a fear factor, when you're promoted.
Yeah.
I was promoted with Leeds in the first year, and we had a lot of young players, ordinary players, and I think we finished runners-up in the league to Manchester United and the cup final, which was remarkable to do that first season. We weren't anywhere near that in the second season.
Yes, yeah.
I think what happens is, and I know for a fact, I remember when we got promotion at Leeds, coming back from Swansea, at Swansea, and I think there must have been 6 of the lads, Norman Hunter, Paul Rooney, Paul Malin. None of those had ever played in the first division before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going into it, it was like you're scared stiff, you have to do this, and we did what we did. But in the second season, I think you learn, well, It's not quite that hard.
Yes.
So the passion and the will and the thing, you lose out on that without being conscious of it even.
Yes.
You just lose it. In other words, you can't pretend to be scared. You're either scared or you're not scared. And I think Sheffield United was a perfect example, Eamon, of what they did last year in the first year with virtually the same players. Yeah. And they can't win a match this year.
Yeah, it's tough and sad.
It's
and
tough.
Let's hope he doesn't lose his job. But I mean, he probably will. But he's done brilliantly with very little in the way of resources. I have an email here from a listener, Derek O'Reilly, who begins his email saying, "You ignored the last email I sent, so probably isn't even any chance of me trying this time. But nonetheless," which is, I just say to Derek, we get, thankfully, hundreds of emails from our listeners, and every single one of them is precious to us because the podcast is for our listeners and it isn't for anyone else. So, Derek, he's taken me to task, John, for being anti-Manchester City, and he thinks that I'm particularly anti-Pep Guardiola, and every second chance you get, even when John tries to talk sense, you tell him he's a fanboy of Guardiola's, and he accuses me of hating Pep constantly. I just want to read that out because we do, everything comes in here I read, and much of it moves me, and it's very important, particularly or certainly including the criticism. John, Guardiola and the cult of Guardiola, he has actually got his Manchester City team motoring again, although they haven't played any of the big boys yet, have they? Well, they played Manchester United, I suppose. They're big boys.
I don't know who they play, Eamon, but it's that's on paper. I mean, if you look at Liverpool's record in recent times, as you say, West Brom, and they played all them. That's the Premiership.
Yes.
Obviously, we have the top six who usually finish there every year, and they probably will again this year. But like City themselves, I think lost to West Brom took a point, 2 points at a draw. And it's a crazy year this year, Eamon, the way it's going,
Yeah.
So I mean, if it was like last year or the year before, I mean, Manchester City wouldn't be in the running now.
No.
And neither would a lot of other teams. But I must say, on your program, I did say I think City have gone, but they have definitely come back in the last couple of weeks, particularly. I mean, they've played really, really well. Anyway, so they're contenders now. And early on the season, I wouldn't have given them a chance. I didn't think they had any chance of catching Liverpool in particular. But it's a crazy year. Liverpool's injuries and all the various things that's happened. They're back in the race now. And I'd say they're definitely one of the favourites again. And I wouldn't have put them there early on in the season.
Now, what the big news at the weekend as well, John, was the announcement by Wayne Rooney that he has decided to pack up playing. He's got a 2.5-year contract as manager of Derby County. Where do you place him, John, in the ranks of great English players, if you place him there at all? I confess that I very strongly do. I think he has been a great player, a really great player.
I think he's done great things, Eamon.
Yeah.
And if you look at his stats in particular, he's up there with the best. I would, and I don't want to be harsh on him. I think he's been a great lad. I think when I think he was heading for greatness, Eamon.
Yeah.
When he got that injury at Manchester United.
Right.
And I don't think he continued that trend.
Right.
And he was still very good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I don't like saying him. I think he's a good lad, but I'd have to say the last 3-4 years of his career, I was a little bit disappointed in him.
Right.
I don't. Yeah. He was still excellent. He was still a terrific player, but he didn't finish up like Bobby Charlton. Now, not many people do, but I think I don't know what it was. I think maybe after his injury, he seemed to slow down in his road to greatness.
Yeah, I would say to you, in response to that, John, and we worked many, many nights watching Manchester United play, particularly in Europe. I thought Ferguson, he has so much ability. You could play him anywhere. I remember him playing very often in away legs of Champions League group matches. He'd play him wide on the left of a front three. He'd play him almost anywhere. And he was so gifted that you could play him anywhere. But he at a certain stage, Ferguson stopped using him as a centre forward. For example, when Van Persie went to United, which was the last time they won the Premier League, and Ferguson, it was coming towards the end, I think it was the last season of Ferguson. Van Persie played. Now, I think Rooney was at his best, John, when he was a centre forward. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
he was at his best playing in the centre forward position.
Yes,
he wasn't a natural centre or a normal centre forward because he was so good. He could get on the ball. He could play anywhere. He'd give you a game anywhere he played. I'm just talking about the looking at the end of his career, with the ability that he had, and plus the things that he did, and he did a lot of remarkable things. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think, and again, I'm being harsh on him, that he fulfilled the ability that he had to be even better. You know, like all players have certain amounts of ability, and you see some lads have very little ability. But you say, by God, he made the best.
Yes,
he made the best of what he had. Now, Rooney did remarkable things, but I think, again, if you look at Messi and say Ronaldo, for example, they're still doing it.
Yes.
You know, and they're getting the best. They're getting the what they say, squeezing every juice of ability they have. So when they finish now, I just didn't get that with Wayne. I don't know the lad from Adam, but I didn't get that from him.
Yes, yeah.
Doesn't matter how good he was. Could he have been better? I think so.
Yeah,
that's.
But
he was still good. Don't get me wrong.
I think
his goal scored in the build and all that. He was still excellent.
I think he was a great player. I just want to say to you, in the context of Rooney's career, or any player's career, that you are at the mercy of, to some extent, at the mercy of the team you happen to find yourself in, and also the way the manager uses you. So, you know, you can say he may have got more, and he did get into the odd scrape off the field, but it was, it was schoolboy stuff. Oh, no, I know you're not. No, I know you're not. I'm not for a moment suggesting that you are, but I think when you come to judge a player at the end of a long and, I think, brilliant career, to say he could have got more out of it is fair enough. But to then say, well, he could have got more out of it if he was with a different coach, but then maybe he wouldn't have got, No,
I don't think so. He was in a great team, Eamon.
Yeah.
I mean, they were winning things right, left and centre. And I think occasionally, Ferguson played him what we consider to be his best position.
Yeah.
It was only occasionally. I mean, the vast majority of his career, he played in a position that he was best at.
There was also another issue there. His agent and Ferguson had a very bad row. I think it was actually back in the day. I think it was back, I'd say, about 8 or 9 years ago. And it was, I think, Rooney looking for a new contract. The agent started doing what maybe Salah's agent is doing now, or what Pogba's agent is doing every day, suggesting Wayne Rooney might be willing to leave United. And I don't think that
was going to City, Eamon.
There was, yeah. I don't think
there was threats of him going to City.
And I think that maybe upset Rooney. And it is possible for a player to become, let's be fair to everybody here, the agent really is only making money when they move, big money, and that's true. But if the agent's relationship with your manager breaks down, it isn't good, is it? And especially
it's very bad. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean the agents can do a lot of good for the players, and they can do a lot of harm for the not for the players, but for the clubs that they're playing with. That's their game, you know. But I mean, they did sort it out. I think he did play for United for another 2 or 3 years after that, if I'm remembering it rightly. You know.
Yeah. Now, John.
No, I think he was a great lad, Damon. I think he was a great player for Manchester United. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be harsh on him anyway. I just think that he didn't squeeze the best of what he had in his later years.
Yeah, and he did have a couple of serious injuries. They had him.
Well, he did after his injury. I mean, I don't think he was the same after. I think it was serious, but not serious enough to finish him. Like Dennis Law had an injury, like and he'd never played the same again. I think he was okay. I think he got okay after the injury. I mean, I think the injury was okay, but it seemed to slow him down, in my opinion, in his ambition to be what he could have been.
Yeah, he maybe wasn't after a certain point as driven and committed as he needed to be. One player who is undoubtedly past any test is Lionel Messi, John. And something remarkable happened last night in Spain. Barcelona were playing Bilbao in the final of the Spanish Cup, and it was 2-2 at the end of normal time, and Bilbao went on to win 4-2. In an off-the-ball incident, Lionel Messi punched one of the Bilbao players in the face and got his first red card. No, it's not his first. He got one in 2005. He got the second red card of his career. It's amazing. There's video of it there on the internet. But one of the most remarkable things about Messi, I think we've both talked about this, is how resilient he was, and how he, A, never dived, and B, if guys were trying to kick him, he just got up, dusted himself down and got on with it. So maybe the stress of playing in a pretty ordinary Barcelona team and all the speculation there's been about his next contract has got to him. It's rather sad, but not tragic, because everyone is entitled to throw a punch now and again, aren't they, John?
Yeah, well, he's been remarkable, Eamon. It could well be that things are not good at the club, which we all suspect with Koeman, the new manager. And it could be frustration. It could be anything. The fella might have said something to him, but he might be frustrated, unhappy in the club anyway. Yeah. And it happens. I've seen it happen to lads before, where it just gets to them and they lash out, probably in the way that he did. But it's very, very unlike him. Very unlike him. But I'd say he's not the happy camper this year, since Koeman has come into the club, that he was in when Barcelona were at their best.
Now, there's two things.
Frustration more than anything.
Two questions I want to ask you. One, did you ever feel like punching anyone? And did you? Apart from me, when you were playing with me.
I often felt like it, Eamon. I very seldom did it. I had a well-known one for hitting Kevin Keegan in a Charity Shield match.
Yes.
In 1974, I think.
Yeah. Why did you hit him? He was getting in your ear, or just you didn't like him?
No. I felt that Kevin was in a mood that day. He'd had to go at Norman Hunter. And the incident that I was in, at the edge of the box, he'd had to go at Norman Hunter. He had to go at Billy Bremner. And the ball broke to me, Eamon. And I was coming out towards Teddy Cooper, and he was over the back of me.
Yeah.
I felt he just lost his head, and he's over the back of me, and then I lost my head.
And did you punch him?
Yeah.
Did you get caught?
Luckily enough, I wasn't sent off. I was lucky not to be sent off.
Oh, right.
That was the match later on. He got sent off. He was in a bad mood. Kevin is a terrific lad. He was a great player. But I thought he was in a mood that day. Because later on, not long after that, there was an incident where there was a foul, I think, on him, and Billy Bremner was involved.
Right.
And Billy gave him a bit of lip.
Oh, they both got sent off, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they were giving each other a lip, Eamon.
Yeah.
Going towards the penalty area.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin lost his head completely, and they started punching each other.
That's right. I remember that.
Right. So two of them were sent off. Two of them were sent off. And then what made it worse, as they were walking down the touchline, Kevin Keegan was in front of him, took his jersey off and threw it on the floor.
Right.
And Billy took his jersey off and threw it on the floor.
So
they both got about 12 weeks suspension.
Right.
Shortly afterwards, anytime I played at Liverpool, I got unbelievable stick because they blamed me for it. They said I started it and they were sent off.
Well, I've
always,
always,
but I didn't start punching each other. I'd take my jersey off walking down the pitch.
I've always said Liverpool.
But that was it. No, I didn't. I was too small to be punching anybody in.
Liverpool fans always were shrewd and remain shrewd observers of the game. I remember the headlines.
I played there a lot after that because when I went to West Brom, I played at Liverpool after that.
Headlines.
They never forgot '74.
The headlines after the Keegan Bremner thing, football's day of shame. I think there was lots of them. Final question, John. At this stage in the Premier League, who do you think, if you had to put your house on it, who do you think is going to win the Premier League, or is it too early to say?
Oh, it's not too early to say. I mean,
okay.
We're nearly halfway through the season, believe it or not. And no, I was happy to bet on anybody. I'd still have a bet on Liverpool.
Yep, and they're 3 points behind.
Now, big danger now seems to be Man City.
Yep.
Because Man City have a big squad now to handle the thing. I'd written Man City off early on the season, I must say. I thought, no, they're gone. And that, but in recent times, I mean, to be fair, the other clubs have allowed them to catch up.
Yes.
I mean, it was enormous since like Liverpool last year. Man, like there's about 4 or 5 teams, including Leicester, and all in the race because it's just a different season. But I think City have picked up. I think they'll be the nearest, and Man U, of course. I think Man U, City, Liverpool would be the top 3, and I'd go with Liverpool to win it.
Okay, I'd largely agree with that, actually. And just to say, John, one of the best comebacks of all time is John Stones. He scored 2 goals again last night. He scored a very important goal last week. He's a player.
He scored 2.
Yep.
2. And he's looking like a player again, Eamon. I think this is why I fancy City.
Yes.
And Diaz, I know he's a lad you didn't fancy. I think he is a good player, Eamon.
Yep.
I think he's made a big difference. I think they've gone 7 or 8 games without losing a goal, which is not them last season.
Yep.
So there's a big difference in them this season. But definitely Stones, it can happen. I mean, we were seeing lads before, they look like they're gone and they come back. And to be fair to him, he's doing his stuff now.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference to City in relation to what they were.
Yeah, and the thing about, I'd just like to say to Derek Riley, who wrote me a fairly critical email, just to say.
Well, I think you have been a bit harsh on Pep there sometimes.
I have, yeah.
You're not a fan.
No, I'm not. But it's just because you can't moan about the football his teams play. But I think what I should say now is that I thought he'd just come in, spend money, buy players. He has actually worked with this group of players to improve them. And Stones is a very good example. He's come back from the dead. I thought for 2 or 3 years he looked a terrible player. And the reason why he would be subject to such rigorous scrutiny is they broke the British transfer record for a defender, 50 million, to buy him. He had a torrid time, but he's come back, and that's always always worth noting and praising someone who's come back from virtually being out of the club. So that's good news. Okay, John, we're very grateful to you for joining us as always. Thanks very much to John Giles.